Hello and welcome to another episode of Raven Sports Recap. I'm your host, Amanda Panaro, and joining me today will be field hockey expert Kristen Carboni, women's soccer expert AJ Berube, and head men's and women's tennis coach Alex Eckhart. A lot has happened in the past 2 weeks, so stay with us through the break to hear about it all. Pride, passion, success. This is Franklin Pierce Athletics. Welcome back to Raven Sports Recap. Let's start off with the golf team, who turned in arguably their finest moment in program history earlier this month, as the Ravens finished second at the 2011 Northeast 10 Conference Championship, held at Cypring Keys Golf Course. The team finished with a two-round total of 615, putting them at a plus 39 score as they took the highest finish in program history. Senior co-captain BJ Powers and junior Ian Landry earned first-team All-Northeast 10 honors to become the second and third golfers in program history to do so. At the conference championship, Powers tied for fifth with a two-round total of 151, while Landry tied for eighth with his score of 153. Three other Ravens also finished in the top 20 of the individual standings, including senior co-captain Brian Fleckles, CJ Konkowski, and Adam Spencer. Director of Athletic Communications Doug DeBise caught up with assistant coach Owen Houghton about the win.
We're here with Coach Owen Houghton of the Franklin Pierce golf team, and Coach Houghton has been around this program forever, and he's seen a lot. And this past weekend, he got to see one of the biggest crowning accomplishments for the Franklin Pierce golf program. Franklin Pierce finishes second at the NE10 championships. And Coach, just talk about this past weekend. All the guys really came through, put together some nice rounds, and just a great weekend for the program. Talk about it.
Well, it was a joy for Coach Zabinski and me to see these kids play. We spent a day practicing on Saturday and then came into soggy times the last couple of days. But Cyprian Keys, nice course. Kids could really stick the ball. Putting was good. Came into the clubhouse on Monday on Sunday with a 301 on a 72 par course. Best score in the history of this program, and we were the leader in the clubhouse. Second was Bentley with a 304. All the coaches were in shock because we had been in preseason poll designated as 10 out of 11 or 12. So being on top at that point was, well, I got a lot of congratulations because I know them all over the years, and they really felt it was one of the best things that had happened to NE10 golf. Teams are much closer together, great competition, great camaraderie.
Since that time, the Ravens wrapped up their season by winning the 2011 Fall Invitational and finishing 11th out of 34 teams at the NEIGA Championship. When we return from commercial break, we'll meet with head tennis coach Alex Eckhart. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Raven Sports Recap. I'm your host, Amanda Panaro, and joining me now is head men's and women's tennis coach Alex Eckhart. Alex, thank you for joining us today.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So let's start off with the men. The team grabbed their first match of the season with an 8-1 win over Regis College, and then you would see two postponed matches in the month of October to leave the team with a 1-3 record overall for the fall season. On paper, it would seem as though after the first opening day, the team's best performance was undoubtedly at home versus St. Michael's. Now, can you tell me a little bit about that match?
Sure. It's definitely close on paper, but even closer in reality. Just going there, seeing the matches. Last year, we had lost to them 2-7. So coming in, we knew where our strengths were. We knew where we had wins last spring. So coming in, we had really strong performances from senior captain Ben Brewer. He teamed up with sophomore Pat Gilhooly at first doubles to win 9-7. That was a really great match, and then unfortunately Ben lost a tough three-setter at first to someone he had beaten last year, so that was really frustrating for him. But overall, I think we picked up another point at second doubles and then 2 points in singles with Chris Brewer and Pat Gilhooly also taking wins as singles players. So it was a good match, and I think we prepared well for it. So.
Great. Well, it showed on the paper, right?
Definitely.
So actually, we were going to talk about the Brewer brothers next. You actually just mentioned them both. So earlier in the season, they were both named to the weekly honor roll. What role do you see each of them taking on this team?
Well, Ben is a 2-year captain for me. He's a senior, obviously the spring. He's that guy that I can count on and off the court. He always gives 100%, whether it's at practice, obviously during matches. And he's someone that if the team needs to get organized for a lifting or a team run, captain's practice, I can definitely rely on him. So if he just does his best, again, at one doubles and for singles, again, not only will he help his own record, but he'll help the team record as well. Chris, obviously his younger brother, a freshman, he came in right away. First day, wanted to challenge, wanted to get in that lineup, knew he could do it. He's playing at third singles right now and at second doubles, and I only see a bright future for him. Obviously, he'll continue that in the spring.
Right, if he's a freshman and can make a difference already.
Absolutely.
Makes sense, right. Okay, so during this in-between season time, through the end of fall and over winter break, what do you expect out of your players to prepare for their spring season?
Well, we're actually having a meeting next week. Today is the last day of our 45-day window, so all practice and competition is over with for the fall. So we're going to have a meeting next week, and it'll go over all the cardio programs and the lifting programs. We're going to tailor lifting programs to each player. They all have different needs. And that's just something really important. We won't get back as a group until after the semester break, so late January, early February. And the match really just culminates in April, so it's between now and January where the kids have to put in the work off the court. So.
And that's up to them, obviously, like you said.
And they can hit. They all have ball hoppers with them, so they can go down to the courts if it's nice outside, but usually they'll be down at that bubble hitting a lot.
Right, good. So it sounds like that's really a standing point for their spring season as well.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's transition a little bit. We're going to go over to the women now. They also had 2 matches postponed after picking up an early win in the season to conclude the fall at 1-5, their overall record. Your first doubles team consists of your 2 captains, Caitlin Krolikowski and Natasha McCarthy. They finished their fall season with a 3-2 record in conference. Can you talk about a little bit about the dynamics of that pairing? What makes them work so well together?
Definitely. It's their second year playing together. And last year, I think the biggest complaint I had going from fall to spring was doubles. We didn't take any points off doubles, and the way a match starts is you start with 3 doubles matches. So it's really hard to go into the 6 singles matches if you're down, 0-3. So this year at doubles, that was a big thing. We worked a lot in the off season, and early September matches start right away, so you don't have a lot of practice time. So I relied on them to communicate a lot, and I think it just works out the best. They both have really big serves. Natasha's baseline strokes are excellent, and Katie has great hands at the net. So I think they really work well together.
Yeah, and like I said, winning record in conference, so it shows that they did put the work in off the court.
Yes, definitely.
All right, well, looking ahead towards the spring, who do you see as your toughest competition in conference? In the fall, you finished in the Northeast 10 1-4. You did face the conference leader, St. Michael's, who ended their fall season 5-0. You left that match in a 7-2 loss. Are they a team that you see the Ravens competing with in the spring?
I definitely think we can get up there. If you look at the score sheet against St. Michael's, we had a 3-setter at first with Natasha. The doubles were close. We had 2 other 3-setters with Mariama Benetti and Melissa Cohen down at 5 and 6 singles. So it's there. We're getting closer. It's not getting shut out every time, 6-0, 6-0, which is great. Obviously, the improvement. I'd like it to show in a W. But I think for the spring, our biggest competition will be Bentley. They're 3-0 coming out of the fall. They have a small fall schedule. We were supposed to play them, but it got postponed because of the rain, like you mentioned. So I think the spring, once we face them, I believe that's April 11th right now. It's a Wednesday, and it's at Bentley. That'll be a tough match.
Yeah. Okay. So lastly, what areas do you see the team needs to improve, either individually or in the doubles sets like you were talking about, to yield the better results that you're looking for in the spring?
Definitely mental toughness. I think we have what it takes physically. Our strokes are good. Our serves are good. I think communicating with each other, especially in doubles, but then also back to the mental aspect, is mental toughness, knowing when to close out a point. We're in a lot of close games, a lot of deuce games that go to add, and we just can't win those 2 points. So if you really get down to the score sheets, you'll see, hey, we're close, but we're not having that mental capacity to close it out. I think we get nervous, we get excited when we could win a point, win a game, and that kind of falters, and we get too tight, and then our strokes fall apart. So I think for the biggest work off the court, it would definitely be mental.
Yeah, so that's just the one thing that's going to push you over to get the W.
I think so. If kids believe that they can win, then we're definitely going to do it, and it's going to show on the score sheet.
Great. Well, you heard it here first. Head women's tennis coach Alex Eckhart, thank you again for joining us. We wish you best of luck in the spring. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more Ravens Sports Recap. Stay tuned. And we're back with more Ravens Sports Recap. Let's open up our rowing segment with the newest addition to the teams, Bernie Taradash, a custom-painted crimson boat named after its donor. The carbon fiber boat models an aircraft industry design weighing only 113 pounds despite its nearly 42-foot length. The christening ceremony will occur on October 22nd at the head of the Charles, which will include speeches and the pouring of both champagne and Pearly Pond water. The women's rowing team will compete in the head of the Charles for the first time in 3 years. I caught up with head coach Jeff Allen, who told me this is one of the premier athletic events in the world, and his team goes down to win. The 400,000 to 500,000 in attendance will line the race's 3-mile stretch to be held in Cambridge, and competition is intense. Participants will include Penn State, Northwestern, and Chicago, to name a few, while the race regularly draws national teams from as far away as Sydney, Australia. Coach told me the Ravens will look to compete at 30 strokes per minute for this race, depending on both weather and the team's conditioning. Allen said, quote, "You try to balance stroke ratings with the workloads to get the optimum performance for the course." The men's rowing team will look to compete next at the Amherst race on October 29th. Their last performance saw them place 4th out of 11 teams at the New Hampshire Championship with a time of 14:47. Team members for that race included Tristan Pagliari, Christopher Cota, Jackson Dean, Elliot Jennings, and Bianca Baldelli. Also on that day, assistant coach Brett DiCrescenzo earned a bronze medal in the men's open singles event. When we return, we'll catch up with field hockey expert Kristen Carboni. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Raven Sports Recap. I'm Amanda Panaro, and joining me once again is field hockey expert Kristen Carboni. Kristen, as always, it's a pleasure to have you on our show.
It's great to be here, as always.
Great. Now, since we last talked, we've had some program records broken. First, let's talk about the senior T11s and what she's done.
She's done great things for this team. As always, she's the offensive spark of this team, and she has turned it on the second half like crazy. First, she broke the program's all-time record for goals. In her career, she scored 27 goals, and she had 26, so she tied a record and then broke it in the game against St. Anselm's, which the team won. And then she also scored a hat trick in the 4-2 victory over Bentley. And she's the second player to only record more than one hat trick. And on top of that, hers two were in the same season, and she's the only player in Franklin Pierce history to do that for the field hockey team. And she scored 15 goals on the season, which is better than her record of 12 last year in a season. So she has turned this team offensively around and has got this team back on track with her goals and everything else she brings to this team.
So you know you're good when you're breaking your own records.
Yes.
Now, in that same game, you were just talking about the records being broken. Junior Megan Bird took over her own record as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
Right, and when T11 is scoring most of the goals, Megan Bird is setting up a lot of those. She assisted on 2 of Levin's 3 goals in that hat trick against Bentley, and she broke the most assist record in the season. She now has 7, and the same thing, she tied her record of 6 and then surpassed that with 7. And it's just incredible to see this team breaking records, and the season's not even over yet. So these two girls, and we'll talk about a third one later, can just continue to add to that. And Megan Bird she'll be on that secondary score sheet with the assists, but she still contributes so much to this team. It just means just as much as T11's does with the goals.
Without assists, you can't score
Exactly.
goals, right?
Nope.
So now that we've talked about the offensive records, let's go to the opposite end of that and talk a little bit about the defensive end with senior goalkeeper Britt Nizio and what she's done this season.
Right, and goaltending is obviously just as important as offense is. You can't win games without scoring goals and keeping the goals out of the net.
Right.
In the second half of the season, both this has happened. The offense with Levins and Bird have made that great. Nizio has stepped up her game in the second half of the season. In the first game against Bentley, she made 3 saves to earn her 8th career shutout, and that's the most of ever Franklin Pierce, and that's an incredible record. So that's a new record, and she's the only goalkeeper to ever have 20 goals on the season. But she didn't stop at 20. She now has 23, so she's going to add to that in the last 2 games as well. So she could finish her Franklin Pierce career with 25 goals. That's insane since she's only was here for 3 years, that she's setting these records like she was here for 4 years and starting all 4 years. She is keeping that net solid, and she's turned this team around as well with the other 2 girls.
Right, and as you said, she's been really active this second half of the season. First half, she was out with an injury to her foot. So to be able to break those records in under 3 years, that's really impressive. It just says what a player that you are.
It's incredible.
Absolutely. So unbelievable marks being set by this 2011 team. Now let's look at the season overall. The Ravens are 8-8, 5-3 in the Northeast 10. They're now ranked 3rd in the conference, which ties them for 3rd place. Last time we spoke, the team was 3-6 overall. Now they have lost only 2 games since that time. What changed?
Pretty much everything. Obviously, last time we talked, we were like, they weren't scoring goals. Their goaltending wasn't bad, but they weren't keeping up the defense. everything has changed. So at that halfway point, they had nowhere to go but up, and luckily they've gone up and they didn't go into the gutter. They have put everything aside from the first half of the season. They've gone up. Like you said, to point out the obvious, like I said before, they were scoring goals and stopping goals, which they weren't in the first half of the season. As minimal as that sounds, that's what you need to do just to win games, and they've done that, and they've dictated the play in the second half of the season. Instead of letting their opponents, if they were playing a good team, they kind of like, okay, we're not going to win anyways, kind of fall flat. They're playing a bad team, they might stoop to their level and still not win. The second half of the season, they've played tough against UMass Lowell. They beat Bentley twice, who was nationally ranked number 10. Obviously, still lost to UMass Lowell. Still a tough team, but in Merrimack, but they played tough. They only lost by a couple points, a couple goals. That's huge, and they've just gained confidence, and they're going to keep going, hopefully, into the playoffs as we continue about that. But this team has turned everything around, and they look good heading down this last stretch of few games.
They look like a completely different team from the last time that we
Yes.
spoke. So they have 2 games remaining in their regular season. Their Pierce Pride game is tonight versus Stonehill, and Saturday they will take on Assumption, where they will honor their senior class, who you told us earlier is really the foundation and heart of this team. Tell us a little bit about who's going to be recognized prior to that opening whistle.
It's a big chunk of this team. It's over a third of this team. They have 7 players that will be graduating, and they're playing their last game, regular season game. We have the goaltender, Britt Nizio, T11s, who I talked about. The defense, Kim Jacksina, huge back line right there. Danielle Dolan, another top scorer for this team. Beth Height, who we've always talked about being defensive. And Lauren LaRue, that quiet player, is always there anyways. And the backup goalie, Rachel Baxter, who obviously didn't play as much as maybe she would have liked, but she was always there to be able to go in when Britt Nizio was down with injury and whatnot. So they're losing a big chunk of this team, and it's going to be an overhaul next year. I'm excited to see what does come out. Obviously, we won't be here either, but it's another chance to rebuild. And if this is obviously at one point, they were a freshman class that came in all together, so it's another chance next year to have another freshman class come in and take that over.
And Coach Guiney brought them in, and they've now broken records. So obviously the program is just on the upswing. So assuming they're able to hold off these final 2 opponents in the last games of the season, the Ravens will be playing for the conference tournament, as you mentioned. Now, looking ahead, where can this team keep their strength and momentum going into the postseason play?
I think a big thing would be if they were able to win these last 2 games, they get a home game for their first playoff game. That doesn't happen often. If they make it to the playoffs, they usually always play away. They're always usually 1 game away from having a home game. Last year they were away and lost that first game. They can win those 2 games and get up into that home field advantage. That would be huge because they had their second half of the season was a lot of home games. And the first, they didn't win at home game in the first half of the season, but they've brought it on. They've won Stesso Field the last few times, and if they can get that, it would be great. They have the confidence now. They just need to keep rolling, keep playing the way that they've been playing, and just keep it going because they have everything they need to at least go past that first game, hopefully a home game, and maybe they'll make it to the final. That would be great. It would be to see this program go from not making the playoffs every year getting better. It would be incredible to see that.
So exciting stuff to watch for the Franklin Pierce field hockey team. You heard it from their expert, Kristen Carboni. Thank you for joining us again.
Thank you.
Raven Sports Recap will be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to Raven Sports Recap. I'm your host, Amanda Panaro, and we're going to catch up with the cross-country action now. The Ravens have competed in 2 races since our last show, including the first, the Prop Carl Invitational at Gordon College. Freshman Kelsey Devlin led her team with a time of 22:24 as she came in 100th overall. 2.5 minutes later, junior Brittany Mather would see the second Raven cross the finish line as the team finished 23rd on the day. Their next race would see the same duo lead the Ravens, with Devlin finishing in 23:19 and Mather coming in at 25:04 at the James Early Invitational hosted by Westfield State. I had a chance to meet with Devlin, who has held that lead runner position throughout the entire season for the Ravens and her entire career at Franklin Pierce. Let's check out what she had to say. Now, tell me, how long have you been running cross country?
This will be my 3rd year.
Okay.
I started my junior year, which I started off running 22 minutes. Senior year, I ran 21 minutes, and this year I'm back to my junior year stats as like 24. But I'm getting there, coming in the 20s and like a 40 to 70 range people, so I'm doing pretty good. Decent,
As a freshman, I'd say that's pretty good. So you've had a lot of personal success. Like I said, you've been their lead runner through each of their meets so far. What does that mean for you just to come into this team and be able to make a difference right away?
It's a little awkward, kind of a freshie, and I'm ahead of sophomores, juniors. A little weird, but I feel good. We're getting points. And it feels really good. You know, it's a physical aspect of it. We're all working really hard.
That was freshman runner Kelsey Devlin. Her team will wrap up their fall season next Saturday at the Northeast 10 Championship to be held at American International College. When we come back, it will be AJ Berube giving us all the women's soccer action. Stick around. Welcome back to Raven Sports Recap. We're going to send it over to AJ Berube for women's soccer. AJ?
Thanks, Amanda. This season has been a tough one for the Ravens, who are currently 6-7-1 overall. It seems, though, when they're playing good, they can't be stopped. But when they're having an off day, they are unrecognizable, and that's what's happening so far too often. The up and down ride started about 2 weeks ago when the Ravens took on undefeated Merrimack after a 2-game losing streak. Despite the 0-0 standstill at halftime, they were able to score 3 goals in the second half, 2 coming off senior captain Amanda Panaro, and 1 from classmate Tori Geekus to pick up their 3rd conference win. Unfortunately, that high would not last long, as in the same week the team traveled to Pace and lost a 3-2 decision. When the Ravens returned to Ringe, it was back to business as they scored 3 goals against the strong defense of Southern Connecticut, who had only allowed 1 goal the entire season up until that game. Geekus would be joined by freshman Talita Pereira and sophomore Joanna Gibson on the score sheet. But the next contest would see the Ravens shut out in a 1-1 contest at Stonehill. While the 2 Ravens captains have earned great individual honors, Panaro with Northeast 10 Player of the Week on October 10th and Jocelyn Leone, Northeast 10 Goalkeeper of the Week on the 17th, the team season is quickly coming to an end with only 3 games remaining in the regular season. They will travel to St. Rose on Saturday for a 2 p.m. kickoff. For the Raven Sports Recap, I'm AJ Berube. We'll be back after a short commercial break.
I'm Amanda Panaro, bringing you more Raven Sports Recap for a look into the women's volleyball team, who is currently 9-10 overall, 3-5 in conference play. Earlier this week, the young team saw 2 players earn conference recognition. Natasha Ray was named to the Northeast 10 Weekly Honor Roll for the 4th time this season, and joining her for the first time in her career was freshman Katie Swiderski. I caught up with Swiderski last week to talk about what it's like being a freshman and having such a big impact on this team. Check it out. So earlier this week, you led your team's offense in a 3-1 victory over Bentley. That night, you picked up your 2nd consecutive double-double. You had 18 kills and 11 digs on the night. Tell me a little bit about what your team was doing offensively to grab that conference win.
We definitely were producing offensively for sure. We were getting great passes, and it made it really easy for Steph, our setter, to give really good sets. So it was definitely easy to get kills and produce.
Great. Well, it ended up working out for you guys with the win.
Yeah.
So you personally have already collected 173 kills in the 16 matches you've played in as a Raven. That puts you at an average of over 10 kills per match. Tell me a little bit about what that means as a freshman to be able to come in and make such a big contribution to your team.
It feels great. All I want to do is just contribute to the team, like you said, and help us win. We just want to do the best we can, so if I can be a part of that, then I'm really happy.
Great, perfect. That's all you need, right?
Yeah.
Contribute to the wins. So you're in the midst right now of a week-long stretch where you don't have any games. When you return to the court, you'll come back on Tuesday night here to face Merrimack. You'll be riding a 2-match win streak. So what are you looking to do? Some areas you're looking to take advantage against Merrimack?
We definitely want to execute what we've been working on in practice, and we want to execute our passing setting, and we want to definitely use our offense, because our offense is big and we want to capitalize on that for sure.
Swiderski led her team in their last victory over Merrimack College with a match-best 19 kills on the evening. Joining her in the offensive power was sophomore Natasha Ray, who collected her 11th double-double on the season with 13 kills and 21 digs. Sophomore captain Lauren Miller led all players with 27 digs, while classmate Stephanie Savornik dished out 45 assists. The Ravens returned to the court on Saturday for a conference matchup versus the College of St. Rose. When we come back, we'll close out with the still undefeated team on campus. Stay tuned for more Raven Sports Recap. Welcome back to Raven Sports Recap. I'm your host, Amanda Panaro, and we're back for the #2 team in the nation, Franklin Pierce's own men's soccer. The Ravens are currently sporting a near-perfect record with a 13-0-1 overall mark, 9-0-1 in the Northeast 10. The slight glitch came in the form of a 1-1 tie against New Haven earlier this month, but that did not jeopardize the impressive streak they have running. The Ravens now have gone 27 regular season games straight without conceding a loss, dating back until last season. Currently, the team is riding a 2-game shutout streak, the first of which coming in a road game against American International College with a 1-0 victory, as junior Greg Guijer scored his second goal of the season, coming from the assist of senior Diego Tabarez. The most recent win came last night over St. Michael's College, as 6 Ravens got on the score sheet in the 3-0 victory. Sophomore Gareth Dudney and freshman Trent Roy both picked up their first collegiate goals on the evening, and I was able to chat with Dudney after the game. Listen in.
All right, so we're here with sophomore Gareth Dudney. Gareth, you scored your first career goal tonight as well. Diego took the ball in on this near side, had a cross. Tell me what was happening during that play.
Diego's very good at dribbling into the box, so anything can happen when he's dribbling around the box. So I knew that we got back post, there's a good chance that he's going to get it there, and it happened, so got the goal.
You were just there, headed down exactly what you need to do, right? Okay, so Saturday you guys are playing Assumption here at Sodexo Field. You guys are going to be honoring 8 seniors that night for your senior game. Talk to me a little bit about this senior class, just what they mean to your team.
It means a lot. It means the heart and soul of our team, the core. We have 2 captains, Tom, Victor, the seniors like Vinny and Paul, Diego. So it's going to mean a lot missing them next year. So we're wishing them the best of luck in the future, but we're going to miss them next year.
Yeah, well, the year's not over, you know. Hopefully you got a lot of games left, right? So tonight, you guys picked up the win, a 3-0 win over St. Mike's. Moved your undefeated regular season streak to 27 games. That dates back to last season now. Just what does that mean for your team looking forward? What are you guys trying to build off of that?
Well, I mean, it's something we just want to keep doing. We want to make sure that we don't lose at home, because that's an important goal we set at the beginning of each of the past 2 seasons, and so far we've been able to keep it up, so we just like to keep that going.
The Ravens are currently seeded first in their conference and again second in the entire country with only 3 regular season games remaining. Their next match will honor the team's 8 seniors during the game versus Assumption on Saturday. The home game will recognize senior captains Tom Riley and Victor Gonçalves, along with goalkeeper Vinny Papagiorgio, Michael Busto, Paul Latif, Mike Pelletier, Mark Santos, and Tabarez. That is going to wrap up another episode of Raven Sports Recap. I would like to thank our special guest, Alex Eckhart. On behalf of AJ Berube and Kristen Carboni, I am Amanda Panaro, wishing you a long and happy postseason. Go Ravens!